What's up everybody, welcome back to a brand new video on Lexers. Today we're going to do more championship score predictions. We've made it to week 43, believe it or not. We are this close to the climax of the season and so much drama at the top of the bottom of the table. It is absolutely insane. This is just proving to be such an unpredictable season, everything we'd expect for the championship. As always guys, make sure you predict your score predictions for the championship in the comments down below, so you guys can have a chance to enter for Leicester Football Prediction League. We had a lot of people entering their predictions in the last video, so thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. If you guys like what you see, please smash the like button. It really helps the growth of this channel. If you can hit the like button, it really does help. Let's aim for 50 likes. I'd be terrifically appreciative. Please do hit the subscribe button if you're not done so as well. Every like, every subscription, every comment, it really helps the growth of this channel. And please, if you can, share the channel as well. It really helps. But without any further ado, let's break down a mad weekend of predictions. Let's start things off with tomorrow night's game, Plymouth versus Leicester. Two teams in very different positions in the table. Both didn't manage to win in midweek. Plymouth managed to squeeze a draw right at the end. It's their first home goal in over 5.5 hours, which tells you the big fall from grace they have had at home park, considering how much of a fortress it was at the start of the season. Leicester are in a little bit of panic mode at the moment. They had those back-to-back wins, looking very confident that they were going to win the championship outright. But losing to Millwall in midweek, and I've got to say, created very little, apart from like the very end of the game. They created very little, but you do got to give credit to Millwall, how they managed to sit back, and they really limited Leicester to almost nothing going forward, which, with, you know, it's not been something that's happened often for that Leicester side. So I think it's more or less you've got to give Mill credit, and brilliant goal, by the way, by Ryan Longman as well. What an incredible strike that was. They will be locked out by the fact that both Leeds and Ipswich failed to capitalise on that. So Leicester are still holding firm as the favourites, but another slip up now at this stage could prove to be pretty costly, I've got to be honest. A prediction here, I will be expecting Leicester to be the favourites going into this one. Plymouth could offer something difficult because Leicester on the road have really struggled recently and Plymouth really need all the points. But Plymouth have been struggling at home, so two teams struggling to get something. A draw would not surprise me, but I'm going to go for a 1-0 away victory to Leicester. I'm going to back the depth and quality of that squad, that they might find something in their locker just to squeeze a 1-0 win. I think it'll be very cagey. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. The midday kickoff in the Saturday's bunch of games is Leeds versus Blackburn. So both Leeds and Blackburn will probably feel quite disappointed with their midweek results. Leeds, they failed to win at Ellen Road for, I think, only for the third time this season. So they're still unbeaten at Ellen Road, and there's no questioning how dominant they have been at Ellen Road all season. But Sunderland did manage to hold out for a draw, and you do got to credit Sunderland defensively, like you credit Millwall for how they managed the game against Leicester. Leeds, on the other hand, did feel like they had two very strong penalty decisions waved away, and probably any other referee, they would have awarded those. And had Leeds won that game, they would be right now top of the table. That is telling you the very small margins that all of these games are having. Blackburn had a day to forget yesterday, losing 5-0 to Bristol City. And they had a small spell in the second half where they looked a bit promising, but it was a very poor result. The poorest result that I've seen them pick up since John Eustace has taken over. I think for this game here, Blackburn have really got to go back to basics and try and not concede many goals, because Blackburn, I do think, are still in danger. They're only 3 points clear of the bottom three. Their running now to the end of the season looks quite fiendish. They do have a big say, I think, regarding the promotion picture, because they've got Leeds to play here, but they've also got Leicester coming up very soon as well. So Blackburn are going to have a little bit of a say regarding those matches regarding the promotion picture. But I think right now, this is going to be a test to see whether Blackburn can respond, because their form has been on an upturn, but then it really came to a real crashing halt against that Bristol City side here. Predictions, this is tough. I don't think Leeds have been playing that well, to be honest, quite recently. But I think they can squeeze something. I'm going to go for 2-0 Leeds. Again, likewise with Leicester, I just back the quality that they've got. I don't think Blackburn are going to hold out for too long. I mean, There's a reason why, because Blackburn have conceded 71 goals this season. Only relegated Rotherham have conceded more goals than Blackburn, so I think their defence is going to be an issue here. So that's why I think it's going to be 2-0 Leeds. Let me know what you think, however, in the comments down below. Next game to predict are going to be from all the 3 o'clocks. So we're going to start off with Birmingham versus Coventry. Bit of a local derby this. And the stakes have been unbelievably risen for Birmingham. Whilst they have got some pretty exciting news off the pitch, on the pitch, it is looking very, very bleak. They missed a crucial opportunity yesterday to pick up 3 points against Cardiff. St Andrews needed to be a fortress, and whilst they did hold a lot of the ball, they were really wasteful. They just weren't clinical, a team low in confidence, and Cardiff just ultimately needed to stay in the game, and they allowed their quality to count. Yaku Mate, I gotta say, a really good individual performance on his part, and Josh Bowler again on the score sheet. I think both of those players have been really, really under the radar in terms of their performance levels for Cardiff this season. Coventry will want a response after losing to Southampton. I think it could have been a what-if moment there, you know, had they scored their penalty. I know it was a bit of a controversial decision, but if they had scored that, maybe we could have got a different result. But ultimately, it was a close game, 2-1 in the end in terms of the scoreline. But I think Southampton were relatively comfortable for most of it. So Coventry right now need a response as soon as possible. They are chasing a 5-point gap from Norwich, and they are really going to be hoping that Norwich drop points against another promotion playoff side in Preston. So it could be a big opportunity for Coventry to try and make some ground, or at least close the gap on the top 6. As a prediction, I think Coventry might edge out a 2-1 away victory. I think just based on the quality still, you know, I think that's the repetition of me edging those sides. And I think on paper, that is what the result should be. But whether it will be there, I don't know. Because Birmingham, they need to show something more. Because they were so disappointing yesterday against Cardiff City. So I am expecting a response, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I think Coventry are going to be too good. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Bristol City versus Huddersfield. Now, incredibly, Bristol City are going on a little bit of a run at this moment. They've picked up 3 wins in their last 4. And I think it's the first time, I believe, in 9 seasons, correct me if I'm wrong, that they've had 4 clean sheets in a row. It's been a while, but honestly, Bristol City have actually started to creep up their form. It's not going to be enough for playoffs. I'm going to dismiss that straight away. They won't be getting top 6. But they are definitely ending the season with a big amount of pride. And they're definitely wanting to try and get a top half finish, or at least kind of being around the teams around the mix that have just missed out on the top 6. So Bristol City playing really well at the moment. Huddersfield really needs something here. It was a very disappointing result against Preston. They took the lead in that game. But then, likewise with the West Brom game I watched live on my watch-along, it was a second half capitulation. And as soon as they conceded the first, it just felt inevitable they were going to concede up to 4 or 5 goals. So this is a habit that Huddersfield do need to try and rectify, because I think if Bristol City score first, then I think it's going to be a really tough game for this Huddersfield side. Predictions, I'm actually going to predict Huddersfield to score, which is crazy based on how well Bristol City have been doing defensively. But I'm going to go for a Bristol City win still, and I'm going to go for a 3-1 victory to Bristol City. They're looking very confident at the moment. They've got nothing to play for, which actually probably takes the pressure off. Huddersfield have got all the pressure, and they really need to be going for this. And I think at this moment, they're letting the pressure get the better of them at the moment. So right now, they've got the privilege of just being outside of the bottom 3. But right now, they really need all the points that they can get, because games are running out, as you can see. So I'm going to go 3-1 Bristol City. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Hull versus QPR. Now, I think Hull have had a bit of a lifeline in terms of their performance. You know, I do think regarding their home form, I don't think they only picked up 1 win in their last 5 at home. They were looking a little bit dead and buried, and I've got to be real now, with them being 6 points behind Norwich and Hull having a game in hand, they're going to have to win pretty much all of their games, Hull, I would have to say, and they would have to hope for Norwich to lose at least 2, in my opinion, for it to completely change. So I do think it's going to be quite difficult for Hull now. They're facing a QPR side where they did miss an opportunity. They took the lead against Plymouth. They only held the lead for about 15 minutes before they did concede an own goal from Albert Adoma, which ultimately actually gave Plymouth a bit of a lifeline. QPR are on 47 points and they are 4 points clear from the bottom three. You'd think a win here should probably be enough. You'd arguably say a draw would actually nearly get them enough as well. You know, looking that it's Huddersfield, Sheffield Wednesday, Birmingham currently occupying those safety margins and those other two relegation places, you'd be thinking that if you can get to 47, I would say you'll be around the safe zone, which is where QPR is exactly at, I gotta be honest. So I do think they're in a good place, but I think just one more result will absolutely seal it. A prediction here, I'm actually going to go for a draw. I think Hull's home form is still stuttering a little bit. QPR could really go for this game, knowing a result can keep them in the championship for another season. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I think it's going to be a scoring draw. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Ipswich versus Middlesbrough. Okay, so disappointment for both Ipswich and Middlesbrough regarding their games. Ipswich drew against Watford. It's not the first time a team has sat back at Portman Road and got a 0-0 draw out of it. QPR also were able to do that as well. And Watford, it's hard for me to say because I don't think the top three are performing that well at the moment. And I think it's the pressure. I really think the pressure is getting to all three of these sides. Ipswich, Leeds are both winless in 2 and have only picked up 1 point each. Leicester have lost 2 out of their last 4. So the top 3 are just dropping points constantly at the moment. And from my promotion predictions video, thinking that 2 sides were going to finish up to 100 points plus, Leeds mathematically cannot get 100 points anymore. Ipswich could only get 100 points as a max if they win their last 4 games, which I do not see happening for 1 minute. And Leicester can only get up to 103. So one more defeat for Leicester, that 100 point Centurion record is really under threat, and it will mean that they won't overtake Burnley's points record either from last year. So I just naturally see a lot of nerves in the top 3 at the moment, and I think that's what we saw in that Ipswich game. They really took a while to get going. They did have a good spell within the 30 to 40 minute period of the first half. The second half was a little bit edgy. Watford starting to edgy a little bit, frustrate Ipswich, and they really ran the clock down, and they did so effectively. And why wouldn't you when you're facing an away day against top of the league who have only lost 1 home game all season? So I don't blame Watford for what they did at all. One thing that's very interesting, which I already gave one of my employers a shout out, Jacob, for my shaving hair incident, but I'm going to give another colleague a shout out, Dan, who actually told me about the fixture situation, which I think is quite interesting. So I think Ben HD may have already mentioned it, but I first found out from my colleague at work. So after this game Ipswich have to play, they have a 2-week break between then and their away game against Hull. Reason being is that they were supposed to face Coventry in that week, but of course Coventry have got a semi-final FA Cup game against Manchester United at Wembley. So because of that, Ipswich actually have 3 games left after Leeds have played their penultimate game. So when Leeds have 1 game left, Ipswich will have 3. Now that could be absolutely terrifying for Ipswich if Leeds manage to pick up their form in their next couple of games or so. But it could also be a good incentive for Ipswich to know where they need to get up to catch up to Leeds. It is very much in their hands to secure that automatic promotion. So the tensions are really, really high at the moment. This is going to be Ipswich's second to last home game in this season. So they really ought to try and get a result here. And now let's talk about Middlesbrough. So Middlesbrough were going into, this form, as a team really chasing for the playoffs. But they had a blip. They had a blip yesterday against Hull City where they were so comfortable, actually. Latte La in great form again. But then they concede 2 goals where they'd only conceded 2 goals in their last 5 to just defensive mistakes and errors, and it was very unlike Middlesbrough, but they did rescue a point with Finn Azaz. Great moment for him. So I do think Middlesbrough are going to hold a threat to Ipswich, but the way that I see this, I honestly could see this again being around a 0-0 draw, but something's telling me something's got to give. You know, Ipswich are definitely struggling with not having Wes Burns or George Hurst, but I think right now they are going to be stubborn enough to eventually get something, and I think after seeing Middlesbrough crumble defensively, maybe that might give Ipswich a chance just to feel a bit more confident going into this match. As a prediction, I'm actually going to go for a 2-1 home victory to Ipswich. I've not backed Ipswich to win that often because I've considered myself being a jinx, but my last two results, I predicted correctly that Ipswich would lose to Norwich and Ipswich would draw to Watford. So I seem to be doing something right about predicting Ipswich's outcome. So I'm going to go for a win here, and I'm going to see if they can follow it up, because I really do think they need to. This is a must-win game, because I think Leeds will beat Blackburn. And right now, Ipswich need to still be that one step ahead of Leeds to really give themselves a good amount of chance still to still get automatically promoted. So yeah, I'm going to go for 2-1 Ipswich. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and this will end Middlesbrough's slim chance of getting into the top 6. Next game to predict is Millwall versus Cardiff. Now, I don't think we're going to see a lot happen within this game. What a win it was for Millwall, by the way. They are also on 47 points with QPR, so I do think one draw potentially might even just be enough here. Cardiff are in a position where they're in higher mid-tables with around Bristol City. They are actually doing all right in terms of their points total. I believe they're on 59 points at the moment, so they could definitely get into the mid-high 60s with some good form in the end of the season. Prediction here, honestly, I don't see this being a high-scoring game. I think Millwall would definitely look to try and get a win, but at the same time, I think Cardiff, are definitely going to make it very difficult. And I'm actually going to go for a 0-0 draw. I've not predicted many 0-0 draws, but I think this game is the one that's speaking to me to be a draw. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Now, this is really exciting. Preston versus Norwich. Now, this is going to be really, really exciting now. Preston won their game in midweek against Huddersfield very comfortably. Osmajic actually getting a 7-minute hat-trick. What a substitution that was by Ryan Lowe, and what a hat-trick it was by Osmajic as well. Norwich threw away a 2-0 lead against Sheffield Wednesday. Now, that could come to bite them. They could have been on 70 points, which would have given them a 7-point gap from Coventry, but because of that, the gap has been reduced, and Preston are really starting to accelerate up their form, and if they beat Norwich here, they will be only 2 points behind Norwich with a game in hand against Southampton. That really makes things really interesting regarding the playoff position. So I do think a Preston win will make things interesting, but realistically, I think Norwich have improved their away record. I know they threw away their lead, but performance-wise, I think they've upped it. Preston at home have been relatively good all season and picked up some big results at home across the whole season. I'm actually going to go for a 1-1 draw. Something's telling me that both of these sides will have their moments and they can get something, but I think it's going to be a pretty unhelpful draw for Preston, and it will be one that brings Norwich 1 point closer for securing top 6. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Sheffield Wednesday versus Stoke. Now, this is a must-win game for both sides if I've not seen it. Sheffield Wednesday salvaged a point in the end against Norwich, of course, so I was really, really pleased to see how much they've managed to, you know, fight for it. And it was a brilliant second half comeback on their part, showing some really big fight to try and get themselves out of the bottom 3, and they are only in the bottom 3 on goal difference at the moment, so they're so close. Sheffield Wednesday, they just need to keep going. They're facing a Stoke side where they really did not have a really enjoyable game yesterday. They lost 3-0 to Swansea, so I do see this as a big opportunity for Sheffield Wednesday to really capitalise on Stoke, maybe feeling low in confidence. The Stoke could respond in a lot of confidence, but realistically, I think Stoke are going to make it very difficult for Sheffield Wednesday, and are going to try and not concede based on how much their goal difference was affected against Swansea. So I do see this being a low scoring game, but as a prediction, I'm going to go for a 1-0 Sheffield Wednesday win, and surely after that, that will put Sheffield Wednesday out of the bottom 3. So I'm going to go 1-0 Sheffield Wednesday. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Southampton versus Watford. Southampton, I think, with one of the results in the midweek, picking up a win against informed Coventry. And I do believe that is actually now making things a little bit interesting. They have got 2 games on hand on Leeds, Ipswich, of course. And if they win both those games in hand, which are against Preston and Leicester, it does make things very, very exciting. And I wouldn't say Southampton are fully out of it as of yet. They still need a lot to go their way. They're going to need Ipswich and Leeds to lose at least one game, which honestly, based on how the top 3 are performing at the moment, that might happen. So Southampton could have an amazing comeback if they win all their games, though. They're facing Watford, though, where Watford still unbeaten under Tom Cleverley as interim coach, but it's 4 consecutive draws. So they're drawing lots, but because of that, and you know, they're just staying around the lower mid-tables. So had they turned more of those draws into wins, then it would have made things really, really interesting. It's going to be difficult for Southampton because of how Watford have been selling themselves out, but it wouldn't surprise me if Southampton pick up a result. But as a prediction, I've got a funny feeling Watford again is going to throw a spanner in the works. They've been a very difficult side for everyone to play against now. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw, actually. I know I predicted that for Ipswich, but I think Southampton will look to attack a little bit more, and I think they'll be more successful with it. I just think Ipswich were very nervy, where I think Southampton will be very, very ballsy, and they've really got nothing to lose. And because of that, I think we're going to see a more open game. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Swansea versus Rotherham. I mean, I don't really see much from this. I think the fact that Swansea picked up their win against Stoke was massive. They are now on 50 points. I think Swansea are safe, and they could actually overtake Watford if they better Watford's result in this week. So I do think they're going to win pretty comfortably. Rotherham, they, put in a decent, maybe, performance against West Brom. It was only a 2-0 defeat in the end, and a very harsh penalty given against them as well. But in the end, I do think Swansea are going to win this one quite comfortably. As a prediction, I'm going to go 3-0 Swansea, and I think right now, it's just going to be a question, can Rotherham pick up more points for pride? But I think Swansea, now that they're safe, I think they're going to be playing with a big smile on their face. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict, and the last game to predict, is West Brom Sunderland. So West Brom picked up a huge win against Rotherham yesterday, and that's given them a 6-point gap from Norwich, and it's gotten them a 10-point gap from Coventry. Now, Coventry do have a game in hand over them, but if you do the maths, West Brom could actually put themselves within touching distance of getting automatically qualifying for the top 6. They're facing a Sunderland side where really they've got nothing to play for. So I see this being a big opportunity. Sunderland have improved defensively. They've not been conceding many goals, and we saw how good they've been defensively when they nullified Leeds United with the best home form of the whole EFL. So I do think Sunderland will make it tricky. It's going to be a low scoring game. I'm going to back West Brom to get a 1-0 home win, and I think that will surely secure them the top 6. So I'm really going to be pleased for West Brom if they do secure it. So I'm going to say 1-0 West Brom. They are 9 points clear currently of Coventry. I think right now they're the strong favourites of finishing 5th. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. So guys, these are my predictions for week 43, would you believe it? We are this close for the season ending, and none of these games are getting easier to predict, but it's also just as exciting to be predicting them all over again. As always guys, make sure you comment your predictions in the comments down below so you guys can have a chance to enter for Leicester Football Prediction League. So that'll wrap it up for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please smash the like button if you've not done so, it really helps. Please do hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so either, it really helps. Leave a comment as well if you can, it also really helps. Liking, subscribing, commenting really helps the growth of this channel, and if you haven't done so, please share as well. All these things really help. Right, good luck to your team this weekend. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw the end of this video, and as always, I'll see you guys soon. Take care everyone.